As with every auspicious occasion and a beautiful day like this, we'd love to start the evening in prayer.
Very good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بفضل بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم آمنت بالله صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق على رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Rigo, and I will be your host. And I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for taking your time out to come and grace this lovely occasion for the launch of the book Paper Money of the Princely State of Hyderabad. Well, to start things off, I have to introduce, first of all, our host, very humble, very sweet person. I've known him for many, many years. He is a pioneering numismatist and preservationist of Indian paper money. What began as a personal passion evolved over decades of dedicated collecting and research into the creation of one of the world's most respected museums devoted to Indian paper money. His sustained scholarship and collaboration have contributed significantly to the study and preservation of India's monetary heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only, Mr. Rezwan Razak. I'm going to request Mr. Rezwan to formally welcome all our other dignitaries on the dais.
Good evening, everyone. I request Dr. D. Subbarao to come to the dais.
Dr. D. Subbarao is a prominent Indian economist, central banker, and civil servant renowned for his inclusive economic policies and his leadership as the 22nd governor of the Reserve Bank of India. His tenure from September 2008 to September 2013 occurred during a turbulent period, including the global financial crisis. Dr. Subbarao is known for his efforts to stabilize India's economy and promote financial inclusion despite challenges like inflation and depreciation currency. Welcome, sir.
I now welcome Mr. Basil Sheikh. Thank you. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Dr. Basil Sheikh served as a career central banker for over 30 years in different capacities, including secretary to the board of the Reserve Bank of India. His work areas have spanned trade, exchange rate and reserve management, rural development, human resources management, as well as governance, among others. He headed the team which conceived, researched, and curated the Reserve Bank Monetary Museum in Mumbai. Having read economics at the Gokhale Institute of Economics and Politics, as well as public policy at the Princeton University, he served on several committees of the Government of India and NABARD. His doctoral thesis was on the evolution of modern banking in India.
I now welcome Ms. Kaya Tripathi, the Regional Director of RBI. I don't see her. Mr. K.K. Mal, the CMD of BRNPL. It's my privilege to invite my brother Irfan Razak.
With more than 51 years of rich hands-on experience in the real estate industry, Mr. Irfan Razak steers Prestige onwards with a keen business acumen and foresight, placing the highest priority on ethical business principles and practices. A visionary, a real estate icon, and the inspiration behind the company's success, he has the ability to create opportunities and the determination to ensure that his vision comes to fruition. He is also the company's principal architect, exhibiting the creativity and insight required to conceive aesthetically appealing yet wholly saleable real estate products. Considered one of the leading authorities on real estate in India today, he has won and continues to win several awards and accolades. I won't get into the list because it's 14 pages long. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Irfan Razak.
Now I request my son Faiz Rizwan to come on stage. May I request everyone to please sit down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get any further, if I could turn your attention to the screen in front of you, we've got something very special to share with you before Mr. Rizwan Razak makes his comments.
This journey goes way back 50 years when I was given the key to a safe. Those days, the money was never banked. It was always rolled up in a cloth bag and asked to be placed there. But as children, you would explore what's inside. You start finding things. And what came out, to my surprise, were some notes which had Reserve Bank of India on it. And the note said, Pakistan notes, payment refused. So I did ask my granddad, what is this and why is it Pakistan? All he did was abuse. Because somebody gave him this money and then when he went to bank it, they said this money belonged to Pakistan and he refused. This did not stop there. And one day while my uncle was sitting on his desk, he pulled out a few old banknotes. And when I saw them, my eyes lit up. And I asked him, if you don't mind, can you part with these? So he gave it to me. Once he gave it to me, now it was a starter kit. And in that, there was a 2.5 rupees or 2 rupees 8 annas note. And that denomination fascinated me. So the collection became a hobby, and I started trying to find out how to get more of these notes. What was a hobby became a passion, and passion became an obsession. And the excitement has come because, the 50 years that I put into this hobby, the knowledge that I gained, the more you come to know, the more excitement it is. And it's not a single day, maybe in the last 20 years, where I haven't spent 2 or 3 hours doing research. Now when the collection reached to a point where it is so huge and so intense, I wanted to start a museum. See, money is an aspect of life which is very important to all. When you're in the museum, what you will see is that how money has transformed or grown from where it started to where it is today. And it teaches you the transformation of how the country has progressed, and it takes you through the different regions of the country where people will learn that, this is an aspect that has brought people together. The plan to make a museum was never there. That thought got seeded sometime in the year 2010 or 2011. This is a heritage for the country. It is a gift to the nation. It is something that, the children and everyone else will come to learn about our culture, about our heritage, and they'll be proud when they go back that, such a thing exists. The museum has some spectacular artifacts which will amaze even a child or a person who's just a visitor to the site. To an ardent collector, it's very different because, he's not even seen it. He's probably seen an image. He's not physically seen something at a distance. I'm very excited about the artifacts that are there in the museum. I have something called the Star of India. There was a medal given by the British to the royalty. That Star of India is used as a watermark in the first portrait series. There was also things like the earliest known banknote, which is dated 5th September 1812. You can see that note. There are few notes of very high denomination. We had 10,000 rupee notes way back in the 1800s. Every note tells a story. There is a vignette or a motif which shows how the country has moved in time. Also, it's very important to say that, whether we are in Kashmir or whether you are in Kanyakumari, the common factor is not the language, it is the note.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the man himself, Mr. Rizwan Razak.
Good evening, everyone. Members on the dais, Mr. M.K. Mal, Mr. Basil Sheikh, Mr. D. Subbarao, and I'm very thankful for him for having accepted, and he's come from Hyderabad just to be here for the day to launch the book. My brother Irfan Razak, and have a presentation. Before the presentation, I want to say how things began and how this book got, born. It was all, one day I got somebody dropped in a file, had a lot of handwritten notes, something to do with paper money, something to do with coins. In that file, there was a newspaper article, maybe of some 40 years back, written by a gentleman called P.L. Gupta. And this came to me from Bombay, from Mr. Farooq Todiwala. So one day when I saw that, I said, let me start writing a piece on this, on the Hyderabad notes, because the article in the paper was on Hyderabad notes. So when it began, I saw there were a lot of gaps. So I said, let's start filling the gaps. While filling the gaps, suddenly I realized that, there are so many things that are missed out that need to be told. The story needs to be told. That I started working on it, and finally it came to be a book. And the book is now 300 odd pages, 380 pages. And just to put on record, there are only 2 issues and 5 denominations. And you will see that in my presentation. The writing journey was very, very difficult and tough because we had a very small team. Initially, 3 years back, it was 6 people, including me and Sanjay. Then it got reduced to 3. It was 4. Mr. Alkesh used to come down from Jodhpur on and off. And then it became 3, all alternate weekends. I used to be there with Sanjay and Rekha in the office doing this. And we started early in the morning and went on till the night, including all holidays as well, every holiday, because Sanjay is working elsewhere, not with Prestige. For him, only public holidays and weekends were for him was possible. And I thank all of these people who gave me all the help and support. The contents of the book, I will go through it in the presentation. You will see, and all the special aspects of the book also, you will go through it. A lot of detail has gone into it because since there were only 2 issues and every minute detail has been captured, it will be very nice for you all to get a copy and go through it. Not only that, a lot of effort has gone into bring about the history of how Hyderabad was born, how the currency was born, and how the paper money was born, and how it ended. May I start with the presentation, please? It's the paper money of the princely state of Hyderabad. It's a story printed in ink. If you see in the map, the rest of India was under the British administration. Hyderabad state is the one in green. We were also colonized, apart from the British, we were colonized by the French, Goa, and the Portuguese was Goa and the French was Pondicherry, etc. Hyderabad state had a unique identity in India. This city was founded in 1591 by Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, Qutub Shahi dynasty it was. Hyderabad was under the Mughal rule for a short period. In 1724, Mir Khamruddin Khan Siddiqui, a leading noble in the Mughal Empire, established the Asif Jah dynasty. It is very interesting. I'll come back to him. The princely state of Hyderabad is located on the Deccan Plateau between the Godavari and Krishna rivers. The territory extended over an area of 83,000 square miles. And it comprised of 3 linguistic areas, Telugu, Marathi, and Kannada-speaking regions. The Asif Jahi rulers were known as the Nizams of Hyderabad. The titles Nizam ul Mulk and Asif Jah were passed down to the descendants. These are the 7 Nizams of Hyderabad. So happened, the Asif Jah 7 is what we are concentrating on because he's the one under who the paper money came to be being. In 1918, the British government bestowed the title His Exalted Highness. Hyderabad came to be recognized as the dominion of His Exalted Highness, the Nizam. Usmania Sikka. In 1835, Coinage Act allowed 34 princely states, including Hyderabad, to issue their own currency. That was done by the British, the East India Company. Hyderabad's currency carried the name of the ruling Nizam in his final 2 reigns. The Usmania Sikka in 1911, during the reign of Asif Jah 7, Nizam Mir Usman Ali Khan coinage issued was called the Usmania Sikka, named after him. Usmania Sikka derived from Urdu, Sikka meaning struck or stamped, literally indicating struck during the reign of Usman. I want to add a little story on the Abjad numbers. In the coin, you'll see a number 92 right on top that has been expanded here. That actually the 92 means Muhammad, because the Abjad equals to Arabic arithmetic. 28 letters of Arabic take values in units from 1 to 10, then 10 to 100, and 100 to 1000. Vowels have no numerical value. If you take the alphabets or letters of Muhammad, M, which is Meme, Hai, which is Meme having the value of 40, Hai having the value of 8, Meme having 40, and Dal is 4, which is Muhammad, and this totals to 70. 92 in Abjad numerical system is used to represent the value of the name Muhammad. The Paper Currency Act of the Nizam's government came into effect in 1918 across all Nizam's dominions. What really happened was there was the First World War and they were struggling for metal. And they approached the British government. At that time, the Crown was in charge and they were given the permission to print their own money. Or when I say print their own paper money. This also led to our Maharaja Mysore. He also wanted to do it. Unfortunately, even though his kingdom was as big, but he wasn't accorded permission to print any money. So the Nizam of Hyderabad was the only princely state in India that had the permission to print paper money. The first print order was placed with Waterloo and Sons, London. Notes were printed in London. They were unsigned, and then they were shipped to India, and the signatures got affixed in India. The coat of arms. Actually, this is the thing that I was searching for when the first Nizam who was going during the Mughal period, he was in the forest. He was going there and he felt hungry. And then he met a saint. And that saint offered him food. And that food was wrapped in a yellow cloth and it contained what they call as a kulcha. That's how the kulcha is in the coat of arms. The coat of arms of Princely State of Hyderabad features a banner within an ornamental frame, a crescent moon, 5-pointed star, and a shield containing the kulcha. The kulcha legend, the saint blessed him, predicting he would establish a dynasty in Deccan, with descendants ruling 7 generations, symbolized by the 7 kulchas. Mir Khamruddin returned to the Deccan and soon established the Asif Jah dynasty in 1724. Thereafter, the humble kulcha earned its place in the royal cuisine. And I think today I requested the chef to have kulcha for all of you for dinner. I'm not touching this, still it's moving. Who's fiddling with it?
Sir, I think you test it here.
Oh, yes. Sorry. No, it's okay. I was keeping my hand on the computer. I was wondering what went wrong. Shit. That's okay. So thereafter, the humble kulcha earned its place in the royal cuisine. Asif Jah's successors used it as a crest and adopted yellow for the Hyderabad flag, which lends credence to this tale. First Hyderabad notes were printed by Waterloo and Sons. They were in the denominations of 1, 5, 10, 100, and 1000. And they're quite large. If you really want to see them, they're displayed at the museum. And I will request you to come. This was the first note that came out from it was issued. It was the 100 rupees, was the first issued note of Hyderabad, signed by R.R. Glancy, and he signed it in English. Most of the note, other than the numbers, are in Persian/Urdu. Then came 10 rupees, then the 5, then we had the 1. I will tell you a story about the black note of 1 rupee in a while, and then the 1,000. The first issue of 1 rupee note, challenges and withdrawal. There were 2 crore of 1 rupee notes that were printed. Only 21 lakhs got circulated. The color being black, it was considered inauspicious. People in Andhra, Telangana, very thing about Vastu and color and whatever. So they decided that now time has come that they wouldn't give their silver or gold to change it for this black note. So it was taken away from circulation and kept there. Later, they burnt it. They burnt it because no one was using it, so the 1 rupee got discontinued in circulation. Before a note is made, there are essays and patterns that are made first before the real note comes. Sample of these are shown here. Some banknote patterns by De La Rue. They were the competitors at that time, and to Waterloo they also gave the designs, and the Thomas De La Rue also did give. So these are the patterns of these are actually painted, hand-painted patterns that are there in the museum. Bibi Ka Maqbara in Aurangabad, Ellora Caves, Jama Masjid in Gulbarga. It looks, these notes are beautiful. This pattern was done by Waterloo and Sons with the Charminar in the center. Unfortunately, I don't know why they didn't approve this design. They went with the design done by Waterloo and Sons. Oh, this is the Waterloo and Sons, but they didn't approve this design. They approved the one without the Charminar. I have to tell you a story about the sea-sunk and replacement notes from loss to continuity. A significant incident occurred in 1922 in the history of Hyderabad paper money. What used to happen is that the money used to be printed in London by Waterloo and sent by ship to India. And then once it reaches here, then they had it signed. A P&O liner, SS Egypt, set sail from London to India. Amongst the cargo were unsigned Hyderabad notes being shipped from the printers Waterloo from London to Hyderabad. The denominations were 5, 10 and 100 with a face value of 51 lakhs 25,000. The unsigned notes were valueless as currency. Waterloo ensured the consignment of Hyderabad notes for 2,000 pounds only being the cost of paper, printing and packing. A disaster occurred en route and the ship sank. Several lives were lost with this cargo of Hyderabad notes. Post-tragedy, insurance companies paid out the insurance claims. Salvage firms around the world pondered the possibility of raising Egypt's treasure of gold and silver. This is the line that I was looking for. What happened was they didn't look for the paper money. The ship carried 1 million pounds of gold in addition to the paper money that was there in the ship. So the ship that sank was because of a bad weather and met with an accident. And then at the place where it sank, it went to a depth of nearly 400 feet, and there was no human that could go to that level and bring it out. So nobody knew that these notes were there in the ship. It was the gold that they were after. So the bounty hunters, for nearly 12 years, tried hard to get it out. Finally, when they devised a method of bringing out the gold, they found these notes and they were very excited. However, they realized that they were valueless because they had no sign. What the Hyderabad government did in the meantime was they had what they call is a replacement note. Notes of the same number were again reprinted, but with a different font in the numerals. Years later, an Italian salvage firm called Sorima succeeded in recovery operations, and the Hyderabad notes were recovered intact. This was a remarkable demonstration of good paper and print quality of these notes that never showed signs of destruction after laying on the ocean for 10 years. These are few of the notes that were recovered from that ship, SS Egypt. A couple of them are also signed by the salvage team. And you can see none of these notes are, there's no signature on the left in the. The salvers felt entitled to some compensation because they got these notes out, they wanted compensation, and they requested the Hyderabad government to pay a sum of 60,000 lire was agreed. And once that agreement was done, they said the best thing would be is to take the notes and pay it, but there were 37,000 notes that were missing. So they were paid 46,727 as in a prorated. The surrendered notes were burnt before the witnesses of both parties. This had an effect. The end of printing notes in London, the SS Egypt incident deemed overseas production unsafe. Hyderabad government, severe ties with Waterloo and Sons. The printing contract was shifted to Government of India Security Press at Nasik. The second issue of banknotes were the same, had the same denominations, 1, 2, 1, 5, 10, 100, and 1,000. And this was done at the Nasik Press. However, the printing of 1 rupee note, by the time this happened during the Second World War, during the 40s, Nasik took the order of all these denominations and realized that they don't have the capacity because they were also under pressure to print notes for the British government. So the 1 rupee note was then printed at the government press at Malakpet, and the remaining denominations were printed at the Nasik press. These are all the notes designed by Mr. Archer, who was the then designer at Nasik, who designed these notes for the Hyderabad government. 5 rupees, 10, 100, 1,000. The 1 rupee, like I told you, was initially ordered with the Nasik. Unforeseen situations arising during the World War I led to the second issue of the 1 rupee notes being printed in Hyderabad. Printing of these notes was carried out by the Nizam's government at Central Press at Malakpet. The Hyderabad Mint handled all the cutting, numbering, printing, and the signature on the notes. What really happened was, in the government press, the sheets were made and sent to the Hyderabad Mint, where the whole thing was processed. This was the first occasion of producing paper currency in the state of Hyderabad, a collaborative effort between the government, Central Press at Malakpet, and Hyderabad Mint. And this multicolored note was the one that was done at the government security press. And very interesting thing is that there are coin representations on banknote designs, that the princely state placed emphasis on coin depictions in their banknote designs. The 1 rupee coin was predominantly featured on 1 rupee and the 5 rupee notes. Design patterns for other denominations were also contemplated, featuring the rupee coin image in note designs. These are the coins that figure out on the notes. Post this, I want to end with the annexation of His Exalted Highness's dominion with India, Hyderabad's post-independence and annexation. The Nizam Usman Ali Khan Asif Jah VII was adamant on remaining as an independent state ruled by his own government and refused to sign the Treaty of Accession. Hyderabad proclaimed, in quotes, independence on June 11, 1947. The Razakars, a paramilitary volunteer force under Qasim Rizvi, resisted integration with India. Then there was a standstill agreement. After extensive intervention by Lord Mountbatten, the standstill agreement was signed by the Nizam with the Dominion of India. Hyderabad continued functioning as it was earlier. Standstill Agreement 1947. The external affairs and defense were handled by India without interfering in the matters unless there is a situation of internal emergency. The Indian troops were withdrawn from the state as on 29th November 1947. The Razakars created disturbances and declared Hyderabad as a state independent of the Dominion of India. The Nizam's powers weakened as Rizvi took over Hyderabad's administration. Thus, anarchy prevailed in the state for a year. It was only in September 1948 that the government of India took a police action called Operation Polo, which lasted for 4 days. And on 13th September 1948, the troops invaded Hyderabad, and on 17th, Hyderabad surrendered. The Nizam surrendered and agreed to disband the Razakars. Thus, the 224-year Nizam rule ended. Civil administration restored. Hyderabad merged into India. Then they had a problem of phasing out the Usmania Sikka rupee and transition to the Indian rupee. On 26 January, Indian currency was declared legal tender in Hyderabad. Both currencies circulated side by side, avoiding the shock of sudden demonetization. The official conversion rate was 7 Usmania Sikka notes gave you 6 Indian rupees. In March 1953, the government of India announced that the Usmania Sikka would cease to be a legal tender on 1 April 1955. The deadline was extended to 30th June 1959, when the final exchange operations concluded, marking the complete retirement of the Usmania notes. On 1st April, on April 50, when the currency department was absorbed into the central government, they had got a lot of watermark paper that was with them, which came from overseas. So the Hyderabad paper currency repealed the bill in 1953. So what did they do with the paper? They said, let's reuse it. They made this into paper that was used in courts, and they used the 5 and 10 rupees. The higher denominations was destroyed. To avoid waste of accumulated stock of unused watermark paper, the authorities authorized its use for judicial and non-judicial stamp papers bearing the portrait of George VI. The large blank watermarked area was reserved for writing. To safeguard against misuse, the stamp papers had misprinted text, government impressed stamp as an additional security feature, both on the verse and reverse. The phasing out of the Usmania Sikka rupees was not just the end of a banknote. It was the close of a distinct chapter in Hyderabad's story. The careful work by the Hyderabad State Bank, the RBI, and the government agencies to manage the transition shows how sensitively and professionally the change was handled. The Nizam's administration deserves credit for this clear, disciplined way it ran its paper currency. The legacy speaks to a commitment of innovation, sovereignty, and the welfare of the people, qualities that still resonate whenever we look back at the Usmania Sikka rupee. And Nizam VII, the last monarch, the first modernizer, His Exalted Highness Nizam Mir Usman Ali Khan Bahadur, later served as Raj Pramukh of Hyderabad state from 26 January 1950 to October 1956. As a visionary, he established numerous public institutions for the welfare of the people and contributed significantly to the development of Hyderabad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizwan. I can only imagine the amount of research you've had to do with this. Hats off to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the main event of today, and that is the unveiling of the book. So if I could request Mr. Rizwan Razak and our chief guest for today, Dr. Subba Rao, to please unveil the book Paper Money of the Princely State of Hyderabad. This is the first of the books that will be presented to Dr.
I just want to tell people that this book is packed in a corrugated box. In the box, you'll find a label which says UV torch inside. There is a UV torch that is packed here, and 8 pages have security paper with the. If you put the UV torch on, you can see the I would now hand over the mic to Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If I could request Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Subbarao, to just say a few words, please. One, if I could request you to please present a copy of the book to all the other dignitaries on the dais, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Subbarao.
Shri Irfan Razak, Dr. Rizwan Razak, Faiz Razwan, my former colleagues from the RBI, Badal Sheikh, O.P. Mal, and I see also in the audience Jagan Mohan Rao and Thomas, all of you notable enthusiasts. I've had a long career. I was a civil servant, a central banker, I was a World Bank economist. After retirement, I was a teacher, a writer. I've had the privilege of enjoying a diverse set of experiences. But even for me, today, being among you, all the currency note, banknote enthusiasts, is a new experience. All of you spend, years looking at the rarity, history, aesthetic delight of what we laypersons call just a piece of paper. When we look at a tattered, torn currency note, we say, oh, what will this buy? When you people look at it, you say, my God, what a fortune. Okay. So I'm delighted to be here. It's a rare pleasure. When Dr. Rizwan invited me for this event, I demurred because I have no introduction to this. It is a very esoteric topic, and I said, what can I contribute? But I succumbed to his persuasion, more importantly, to the passion of his commitment for paper currency, which led to the establishment of the Rizwan Razak Museum, which houses one of the most comprehensive collections of Indian paper money. Today, we just heard about the paper currency of the princely state of Hyderabad. I have a special connection with Hyderabad because that's the most charming city in the world. I lived there. I have a special connection with banknotes because as governor of the Reserve Bank, I had the privilege of signing them. So those two disparate connections give me some credentials for being here and speaking here. My only grouse is that we're not doing this in the charming city of Hyderabad, but we're doing this in the rival city of Bengaluru. You know, when I was governor, I was very fond of, I used to travel by car. I was fond of stopping by and walking into schools, primary schools on the streets. And, behind me were 3, 4, or 5 other people with suited, booted. And all of us walk into a school, suddenly all the teachers, headmasters, they're flustered. And within a minute, they realized that the governor of RBI had come into the school. Now, if the prime minister walks into a school, how does a teacher introduce the prime minister? What does the prime minister do? It's not easy to describe what the PM does, but it's very easy to describe what the governor does. He is the one who signs the note. It's very easy to explain to the children, what the governor does. And some of the children used to ask me, very tiny kids, even tinier than these kids, say, "Sir, why don't you learn to sign faster? We'll have more money." Okay? So that's my connection with paper currency. To most of us, policymakers, central bankers, academics, currency notes are just money. They are a medium of exchange. In fact, one of the primary responsibilities of the Reserve Bank of India is to design currency notes and to ensure their availability, quality, and integrity. In your community of note collectors, though, they're much, much more. The notes unravel history. They tell stories, the stories that Dr. Razwan just told us. The design of the note, the paper on which they're printed, the motifs on the notes speak of the intended and unintended messages which reflect the spirit of the times and the ethos of the day. And it is these observations, insights, the alchemy of notophiles, many of you in this audience, who transform what is just a piece of paper, what is just a medium of exchange, into an intimate connection with history. It's you remind us that it is small things, not necessarily big narratives, that make history. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the evolution of paper money. Paper money was first introduced in this country, in our country, in the mid-18th century in the Calcutta and Madras presidencies by a few banks. And those paper money, banknotes, had numbers. Just like today, they promised to pay the bearer on demand the sum of that money on the denominated in the offices of the bank during banking hours. What we call non-fungible token. They were non-fungible tokens. The introduction of those banknotes marked one of the most significant disruptions in India's monetary history. It altered the very idea of money from a physical coin, which derived its value from intrinsic worth, to a token, which derived its value from the coin which it represented. The issuing bank typically kept a fraction of the value of currency they issued as precious metal in their vaults. That's how we have the fractional reserve system. And that fractional reserve system continues today and is in fact the cause for some of the banking crisis we have is the fractional reserve system. And the fractional reserve system at that time demanded that the banks which issued those currency notes maintain their integrity. So the issue of currency notes also contributed to banks becoming better governed institutions in the country. So those early banknotes, subsequently several other banks started issuing notes, and it became a competitive business among banks to issue their own currency notes. And several currency banknotes issued by several banks were circulating at the same time. But all this ended in 1861 when the government of India promulgated the Paper Currency Act and took over issue of banknotes as a monopoly. And with the establishment of the Reserve Bank of India in 1935, the monopoly of issuing banknotes passed on to the Reserve Bank. Over time today, we have, of course, fiat money. No, banknotes are no longer backed by coins or precious metals kept in the vaults. The Reserve Bank does have gold, of course, but not equivalent to the value of currency they issue because it is fiat money. Fiat money operates on the promise of the issuer that this is legal tender. In fact, you see, I promise to pay the bearer. You know, I've seen this from my childhood. And even when I became governor, I saw that I promised to pay the bearer a sum of 100 rupees if you have a 100 rupee note. I wondered, what does this mean? You're actually holding a 100 rupee note in your hand and say, I promise to pay the bearer. And I wondered, as the governor, what do I do if somebody comes to me and say, give me, this is a bank note, what do you pay? And I said, what do I pay him or her? So I realized then that actually meant that it is legal tender, that it is the currency that can be used for paying taxes and defraying debt. So I used to interpret that I promised to pay the bearer not only as redeeming the legality of the currency, but also as a responsibility of the governor to maintain the value of the currency by controlling inflation. Okay? That is the primary responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India. Today, of course, we're going through another transformation, digital money. So many of the questions that we considered earlier are resurfacing today because money is being reimagined in a digital form. The questions that come up are, does the issue of money have to be a sovereign prerogative? Or can it be issued by private entities? In fact, cryptocurrencies are being issued by private entities. Does the issue of money have to be a monopoly, or can several entities, several banks, several organizations issue money and all that money circulates simultaneously? And does money have to be denominated in legal tender? More importantly, for collectors, historians, all of you, the big question, existential question must be, will paper money survive? Right? Last week in Hyderabad, my wife and I, we went to the Botanical Garden at 6 in the morning, last Saturday actually, and the ticket is 50 rupees. Two of us, 100 rupees. So it was semi-dark, and I went there, and my phone died. So fortunately, I had a 100 rupee note. I gave it to him and said, 2 tickets. He said, no, we will only take online payment. I said, you take only online payment? And the Botanical Garden, mind you, is run by the Forest Development Corporation of the government of Telangana. This is a government organization saying that we will not take currency, we will only take online payment. I thought I'd sue the government because it is my right that it's the legal tender. And I was the former governor of the Reserve Bank. How can the Forest Development Corporation refuse to take that? Actually, there's an anomaly there, how government should honor or entities should honor their commitments. I'll tell you a side story. Many of you might have been to New York. New York has 2 airports, JFK and LaGuardia. And adjacent to New York, on the neighboring state of New Jersey, in Newark, there is the Liberty International Airport. And the Newark airport came before the New York airports. In 1930s, mid-1930s, I think, a gentleman bought a ticket from Chicago to New York. And the airline landed him in Newark, New Jersey. And then he said, no, I wanted to go to New York. I bought a ticket for New York. How can you land me in New Jersey? And he sued the airline company. After many years, he lost that battle. But that man, Giorgio LaGuardia, became the mayor of New York and built the New York LaGuardia Airport. So I'm going to sue the government of Telangana and make sure that paper currency survives. In fact, there is the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, which is a club of central bankers, the Bank of International Settlements, BIS. And they gave out foundational principles for digital currency. And one of the things they said was that governments cannot withdraw from the responsibility of issuing paper currency. It is okay if people use digital currency, but governments cannot stop issuing paper currency. So all of you paper collectors, you're okay. Okay. So let me return briefly to the issue of paper money, where there's got to be a sovereign prerogative. Political scientists say that there are certain sovereign powers. Sovereign powers are the power to collect taxes, the power to issue laws, make laws and enforce them, the power to bear arms and defend the country. Those are sovereign powers. Is the issue of currency a sovereign power? During the colonial rule, as Dr. Razwan just told us, the colonial administration was very jealous of allowing princely states to issue their own currency because they were worried about losing their hold on them. In fact, Hyderabad, Bazil Sheikh tells me, was the only princely state that managed to get British permission to issue currency because they exploited the crisis situation created by the First World War and the scarcity of silver at that time to get permission from the British colonial administration to issue the Hyderabad paper currency, which marks today's occasion, the history of the paper currency. And as Dr. Razwan mentioned, the Maharaja of Mysore did not get permission to issue its own currency. The issuance of paper currency by Hyderabad was significant. I'm no scholar like Dr. Razwan, but from what I heard, it is politically significant as an act of exercising sovereignty. It is economically significant because it enhanced the space for monetary management and development. And it was socially significant because it brought a bit of modernity into the princely state of Hyderabad. In fact, there is some view that the seigneurial revenue that came out of the paper currency of Hyderabad was in fact used to fund the industrial trust fund and the industrial cooperatives of the Hyderabad state. So that helps us understand the context of Dr. Razak's books today. There have been some books on the Hyderabad's paper currency, but what marks the paper currency, the book by Dr. Razak, Paper Money of the Princely State of Hyderabad, is what sets it apart is the depth and breadth of inquiry. He's delved deep into and tried to document every type, the volumes issued, the printers, the paper, the numbering systems, the prefixes, the signatories, the details of the design. And there are some very quaint details, some very charming stories that come up in his book. For example, the cost of printing 1,000 OS notes was 4 OS and 10 annas. And salaries were paid in OS. I'm giving you the salary just so that you can relate to today's salary levels. Labor were paid OS 15. Machine men were paid OS 30. Accountants were paid OS 125. And supervisors were paid OS 200. Which means that an accountant was paid 8 times as much as a labor. You can do today's calculation whether an accountant gets 8 times as much as a labor. These are not just trivia because they give us a glimpse into the ethos of that time, the culture of that time, the economics of that time. And there are very, very quaint stories. For example, Dr. Razak referred to Malakpet, the printing press there. The location of the mint, first in the old royal palace, which we call the Purana Haveli, then its relocation to Darul Shifa, and thereafter to Saifabad, behind the Secretariat, which is a nostalgic walk down memory lane. and of course the fascinating story of the sunken ship, sunken treasure in SS Egypt, and numerals in Abjad and Siyak script. Many of those notes might have circulated across markets, shops, homes, chawls, havelis, Irani cafes, biryani joints, etc. And they also tell us about the administration of that time, because although a lot's been written about the administration of British India, of colonial India, there is not enough written about the administration of the princely states. This book, for example, gives us a glimpse into the administration, such as the electricity that was generated to power the mint also supplied power to neighboring localities of King Koti and the Residency. And we used to have a Fasli calendar. A Fasli calendar. In fact, as a young civil servant, I recall having worked with Fasli calendar that also came from this. And matters relating to self-reliance during the Second World War. So, I understand that this meticulously researched book, as we saw, is the first comprehensive and standalone book dedicated to the paper currency of the princely state of Hyderabad. And indeed, it is a labor of love by Dr. Razak. It bridges the gap between the lay reader and the seasoned collector. He and his team have worked passionately to bring out this book. Just what we think is pieces of paper is fascinating history into the past. So my congratulations to Dr. Razak, and I wish the book every success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subbarao. If I now invite Mr. Basil Shaikh to come and say a few words, please.
Former Governor Dr. Subbarao, Mr. Irfan Razak, Rizwan Razak, Dr. Mal, Mr. Faiz, in the Jagmohan Rao, Mr. Thomas, and a lot of my friends over here, as well as fellow enthusiasts. You see, there are grand ventures, are societal constructs, and they need a witness. And most of us here today in this gathering have been witness to the passion and to the momentous task which has gone into creating the Museum of Indian Paper Money. I recall 20 years ago, there was a meeting which Mr. Rizwan held along with the NID officials as a brainstorming meeting. Those were ideas. Converting the ideas into action, into reality, and to make it happen, it requires a certain passion. In Hindustani, we have a word called Majnu. Majnu is a lover. And a lover is typically a little mad. Okay? And I'm sure a lot of you in this gathering can relate to the fact that it needs a certain madness to pursue the art of collection, and not just collection. To convert a collection into a museum is a next level situation. And many of you over here would have had this accusation levied against you by your loved ones. And it's not passion alone that drives this. It is also a clear mind, a team, focus, dedication, and sacrifice. And the sacrifice is what, the people who will bear witness to the sacrifice will be the families, not just of Mr. Razak, but also to many of you over here who are collectors, will relate to what we say. Today's book, On the Paper Money of Hyderabad, carries forward this grand venture. It is not just a story of notes, but it's also, as former Governor Dr. Subbarao has said, it is also a story how an Indian state strived to retain some degrees of monetary autonomy. We couldn't have had a better person than the former governor to release this book, and we eagerly look forward to going through this book. Thank you very much. All the very best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaikh. If I could now request Mr. Irfan Razak to just say a few words, please.
I begin in the name of the Lord, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Former Governor, Mr. Subbarao, Fazil Sheikh, and and of course, the star of today, Dr. Rizwan Razak, and Faiz Rizwan. First of all, I must say I am enamored. Enamored with the entire attendance that's here this evening. It's quite amazing. To talk about and for a book release of something called Paper Currency of Hyderabad. I think you have come not for the book release. Few of you may have, but all of you have come here for the love of Dr. Rizwan Razak. I think that is the crux of it. And of course, you're all part of history in the making. Rizwan, like Dr. Fazil Sheikh said, he's been passionate. This book is the second or third I think, if I'm not mistaken. One was again a pretty voluminous book like this, and then the second book came was the 1 rupee book, and now it's about Hyderabad. But more importantly, the type of passion that has gone into him, the type of time he has spent, and the type of level to detail is something tremendous. And if many of you have still not seen the museum, which is located at the Falcon Towers, I must beseech you to go visit it immediately. How many have you not seen the museum? A few of you. That means most of you have. That shows that there's so much of interest. I think that museum is just a labor of love. And nothing can happen the way it has happened if it wasn't passion. And for that passion, in the Urdu word, I'll say junoon. He said majnu, but I am saying junoon. So you have to have that junoon. If you don't have that junoon, if you don't have that passion, you cannot achieve this. And this is what Dr. Rizwan Razak has achieved. A big round of applause to him. Honestly, I really don't understand anything about this paper currency and why it's there, why it's printed. All I know is it's a medium of currency. It has to be used to purchase commodity, and that's it. But the level of detail which Rizwan presented in his presentation, the numericals, the logos, the sort of emblems that got into the currency and why it happened, what happened, how the ship got sunk, and why it started getting printed instead of in London, back into the country, is an eye-opener that shows that he has gone into the minutest of details. And I think that book is a legacy for generations and generations to come. My congratulations to Rizwan for what he has done. And I am sure it will be a collector's item for many, many generations. I don't want to take, you all have seen, you heard his presentation, you've seen the book getting released. I'm sure you'll all get a copy of the book as you leave. But the most important part is, what are we leaving behind for ourselves? It's the legacy. It's something that you've done in your life. So I am reminded of a story. I always like to end whatever I say with one little story which has some meaning or relevance to what I am saying. That story, you see, there's a group of professionals, tourists who had gone out somewhere, and as part of their tour, as a heritage tour, they went to see a cemetery. Like I, for one, went to Argentina. In Argentina, we went to that cemetery where where everybody is buried there, and all the who's who, and with they are like huge, small homes with their names written and the plaques written. So similarly, this group of professionals, these tourists went to a cemetery, and there was a caretaker who was there in that cemetery for many, many years, greeted these young professionals, and they started silently looking at the names, like how Rizwan Razak looked at the numericals and those emblems and everything else. They started looking at all of that, the names, who passed away when, and all of it. So, very good. And then this caretaker said, see, the most important thing that you should realize is, once these people were known for very, very different things. One was considered to be the most beautiful person. One was considered to be a wealthy person. One was considered to be a most powerful politician. And one was somebody who had so many possessions. But at the end of the day, once they come in here, they all come in the same way and they go the same way. So these professionals got silent, and nothing matters, he said. So these youngsters got a little silent. Then they asked the caretaker, then what matters? They asked. He said, what matters is what you leave behind as a legacy. What matters is how many lives you've changed, how many lives you've touched. So that is what Dr. Rizwan Razak has done. He's left a legacy. He's leaving a legacy. He continues to do whatever. Because my friends, whatever we have, we are not going to carry it with us. But what we do for the society, what statement we make in terms of what we leave behind is what is important. And that, I think, is a big thing. We need to leave legacies. We need to leave a stamp of not about what we were, about what we did for the peoples and the lives that we touched. For that, my congratulations to him. And I believe that this legacy, of course, this legacy, we also carry it in our business. But Dr. Rizwan Razak, apart from doing his business so passionately and diligently, it's not that he's given up business and only doing this. He does both. That's to clarify with everybody. So it's neither all of this or all of that. It's a combination of both. My congratulations to him. And keep doing what you're doing, Rizwan. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Irfan. If I could now invite Faiz Rizwan to say a few words,
Good evening,
please.
everyone. Distinguished guests, family, friends, and dear well-wishers. To begin, may I warmly welcome all of our friends and guests who've joined us this evening. Thank you for taking the time to be here and for sharing this special moment with us. And may I acknowledge the distinguished guests, D. Subbarao, Bazal Sheikh, M.K. Mal, Irfan Razak, and of course my father, Rizwan Razak. It's a real privilege to welcome you tonight to celebrate something deeply personal to me, the launch of my father's newest book, Paper Money of the Princely State of Hyderabad. What makes this moment even more special is that this is his third book, a milestone that fills our family with pride. My father has always had a remarkable trait. When something captures his imagination, it doesn't remain a passing interest, it becomes a lifelong pursuit. His love for history and paper money isn't just about currency or collecting. For him, every note is a living document, a snapshot of an era, a clue to politics, culture, artistry, and the story of people, especially from the time of Hyderabad. What I admire most is his dedication behind the scenes, the part few people ever get to witness. Writing a book like this isn't simply putting thoughts on paper, it's research, verification, cross-checking, chasing sources, comparing tiny details, and making sure every claim stands up to scrutiny. And then shaping all this into narrative that does justice to the subject. And he does all of this while managing a hectic schedule. That's the part that leaves me in awe. Most people after a long day look for rest. My father somehow finds focus. Late nights, early mornings, weekends. The hours that many reserve for switching off, he has consistently reserved for building something meaningful, not because anyone asked him to, not for applause, but because he genuinely loves the work. It's discipline powered by passion. And I think that the lesson he keeps teaching us, that it's not time we find, it's priority we choose. He's shown us that even in a busy life, you can still create, contribute, and leave behind something that lasts. Something that people will learn from long after everything ends. Dad, I want you to know how proud I am, not only of the book, but of the perseverance it represents, your patience, your patience to detail, your commitment to accuracy, and your determination to finish what you started. This third book isn't just another publication, it's proof of consistency, purpose, and a love for learning that never slows down. A special thank you to the Reserve Bank of India's former governor, D. Subbarao, for honoring us with his presence, and to everyone who has come together to celebrate this moment with us here at Conrad. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating my father and in celebrating not just a book, but a legacy of passion, dedication, and craftsmanship.
Thank you very much, Faiz. Right, we have a few certificates to give out for some very special people. If I could request Mr. Rizwan to do the honors, please. First of all, can I have on stage Alkesh Arora? Devi Prasad Shinoy. Rahul Jain. Sanjay Mithal. And she's always smiling no matter what. Rekha Chandrabanu. I was just told that day at the meeting in the office, on the old 1,000 rupee notes, there's a lady sitting on the computer. That happens to be Rekha. So if I could request you to just stay over there a moment, because we're going to be cutting the ceremonial cake. Can I request all the other dignitaries on the dais to please join us? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the family. We'd like to end. I'd like to invite Miss Thomasina Smith from Noonan's, London, to just come and say a few words.
I only got in a few hours ago, but yeah, I work for an auction house in London called Noonan's, and in my busy schedule, like, it's so easy for me to get sort of caught up in the sort of the prices and deadlines of things, but looking at Rizwan's books always reminds me why I fell in love with this hobby and why I love my job, because it's fascinating and yeah, I enjoy it a lot. Rizwan, thank you for having us all here this evening. It's an absolute pleasure, and I hope everyone enjoys their night. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we've come to the end of the formal part of the evening. The party begins now. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming here. Dinner's going to be served in a little while from now. But we also have Mr. Rizwan Razak, who will be sitting at a table and he'll be signing the books. The books are also on sale if you'd like to pick up one, and we have a lot of other souvenirs also on sale. And we got a small little gift to give every one of you once you're leaving the venue tonight. On behalf of myself, Mark Rigo, and the rest of the Prestige family over here, thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the evening. The buffet will open in about 20 minutes' time. Thank you. God bless.
pages have security paper with the for a short period. In 1724, Mir Kamaluddin Khan Siddiqui, a leading noble in the Mughal Empire, established the Asaf Jah dynasty. It is very interesting. I'll come back to him. This side of Hyderabad is located on the Deccan Plateau between the Godavari and Krishna rivers. The territory extended over an area of 83,000 square miles and comprised of 3 linguistic areas: Telugu, Marathi, and Kannada-speaking regions. The Asaf Jah rulers were known as the Nizams of Hyderabad. The titles Nizam or Mulk and Asaf Jah were passed down to the descendants.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off.
Just want to tell people that this book is packed in a corrugated box. In the box, you find a house that is back here. And 8 pages have security paper with the
Wife, send them a special request to you. Yeah. Just hand over that to France. Thank you very much. It will get to move. Yes. He must be on the top floor. Do you have one extra? Extra one? एक्स्ट्रा एक कार्ड दे देंगे सिग्नेचर वेट सर विल डू वेट सर सबको करेंगे सर हैज कम ओनली फॉर दिस नो आई डिडंट कम ओनली वी एज अ कलेक्टर वी हैव स्पेसिफिक माइंडसेट I have come from Jharkhand just to get your autograph. Sir, is the autograph book okay? Thank you, sir. उसका बुक पहले हट जाना मेरा ही बुक
ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಬಿಡೆ
ನೀವು ಒಂದು ನೋಟಪ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೀವು ಹತ್ತತ್ತು ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ
ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ
ನೋಡಿ ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅರ್ಪಿತ್ ಹತ್ರ ಬನ್ನಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹತ್ರ ಬನ್ನಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹತ್ರ ಬನ್ನಿ ವಿಡಿಯೋ
Some space, please. Yeah. Excuse me, gentlemen. Can you just give some space to sir, please? He'll sign all your books.
Yeah.
Please.
Sure.
Some space, please.
Sure.
Each of them buys the book and comes here. I don't know how many I can sign.
Yeah. But yeah,
Forget it.
Sir, please sign from this side, sir. We are waiting for almost 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. Pictures are nahi aana yaar. Aage se ho na. Sir, Subramanian. I think Subramanian. Demonetized note, no? Yes. Monetizing it again, sir. No. One for Rajesh.
Thank